The church hall smelled faintly of polished oak and fading lilies. Conversations hushed as Margaret's sharp voice sliced through the quiet. Her eyes burned into me, her lips curled in disdain. She's nothing but a leech. The words hung in the air, heavier than the hymn books stacked by the door. Gasps rippled across the pews. I felt the sting in my chest as neighbors turned, whispering behind gloved hands. I stood frozen beside my son's photograph, his smile framed in black ribbon. My fingers tightened around the folded program until it crumpled. Margaret's glare didn't waver. After Robert died, she drained him dry. And now she wants more? Heat rose in my cheeks, but my lips stayed sealed. The silence around me grew sharp, everyone waiting to see if I would crumble, or finally answer. I was only 20 when I first met Robert. He wasn't flashy like the men Margaret used to parade around her family dinners. He was steady. A quiet man with calloused hands from long hours fixing engines at his father's workshop. While others dismissed him for not chasing wealth, I saw the kind of strength that doesn't fade with time. We built a modest life together. Our house was small, tucked near the edge of town, but its kitchen always smelled of fresh bread and strong coffee. Robert believed in honest work, and I matched him shift for shift at the diner where I waited tables. We didn't have much, but laughter filled the corners of our evenings. Margaret never saw it that way. From the moment Robert introduced me as his wife, she frowned at my plain dress, at my hands roughened by washing dishes. "You'll never be good enough for this family," she told me once, her voice coated with sugar in public but sharp as vinegar when no one else listened. Years passed, and I learned to bear the whispers. At every holiday dinner, Margaret made sure to remind everyone of my place. "Julia's doing her best," she'd say with that smirk, as if my efforts were a child's drawing hung on the refrigerator, amusing, but not worthy. Yet Robert stood by me. When I doubted myself, he reminded me of my worth, and when illness finally claimed him, I stayed at his side through every breath, every night of restless pain. The silence after his passing was unbearable, but what hurt worse was Margaret's coldness. She spoke of him not as a son, but as a possession that slipped away because of me, and now, standing here in the church hall, her words echoed with all the weight of those years. A leech, she had called me. A woman who took but never gave. I glanced at the people gathered, neighbors who knew my husband's kindness, friends who had seen the sacrifices we made together. They looked at me now with doubt, uncertain whose version of the truth to believe. My heart hammered in my chest. I could stay silent, let Margaret bury me under her venom, or I could let them see the life she never cared to understand. The will reading was about to begin. The room stirred as the lawyer entered, papers in hand. Margaret straightened in her chair, lips pursed with greedy anticipation. I kept my silence, though deep inside, I knew the time for truth was drawing closer. The lawyer's voice carried across the church hall as he unfolded the crisp pages. The hush was so complete that even the tick of the old wall clock seemed louder. Margaret leaned forward, her pearl necklace gleaming beneath the dim light, eyes locked on the papers as if the words were treasure. Before he could speak, she cut in, her voice sharp. "This won't take long. Robert was a smart man. He knew his blood family deserved everything, not outsiders." Her glance darted at me like a knife. A few gasps fluttered through the room. My chest tightened, but I kept my eyes fixed on Robert's photograph at the altar. The lawyer cleared his throat. "If we could proceed," Margaret interrupted again, laughter bubbling from her lips, brittle and cruel. "She married my son, with nothing to her name. And now she thinks she'll leave here with something? Julia never earned a penny of it." My fingers trembled against the folded program in my lap, but I forced my breath steady. Around me, whispers grew. Neighbors exchanged uneasy glances. Some nodded faintly in sympathy, others leaned closer, waiting to see a spectacle unfold. I felt heat rise to my cheeks, but I did not answer. My silence seemed to unnerve Margaret more than anger ever could. She leaned back, her voice dripping with mock pity. "Honestly, Julia, you should be grateful. Robert gave you more than you ever deserved. But now he's gone, and so is your shelter. People like you always end up with nothing." Her words settled like stones in the air. I glanced briefly at her, holding her gaze for just a second longer than she expected. Her smirk faltered, if only for a heartbeat. I pressed my hands together, steadying myself. The years of endurance had taught me patience, but tonight, something deeper stirred. There were truths Margaret had never known, truths that would turn her arrogance to ash. The lawyer shuffled the papers again, his tone firm this time. "If we may continue with the reading?" Margaret gave a dismissive wave, chuckling under her breath. "By all means. Let her hear just how little Robert left behind for her." I straightened in my chair, shoulders squared. My heart pounded, but my lips curved into the faintest smile. The room seemed to sense it. A ripple of unease moved through the guests. They didn't know it yet. Margaret didn't know it yet. But the tide was already turning. The lawyer's voice rang clear as he began reading Robert's words, his handwriting captured in every line. To my beloved wife, Julia. The hall fell into a stunned silence. Margaret's smile froze in place. The lawyer continued, his tone steady. You stood by me when no one else believed I was worth anything. You gave me dignity when others mocked, strength when illness took mine away. Every piece of what I built, every ounce of honor I earned, was possible because of you. For that reason, I leave to you not only our home but the business we created together. Gasps rippled through the pews. Margaret's pearls seemed to rattle against her throat as she snapped upright. Business? What business? The lawyer adjusted his glasses. The auto workshop, expanded into 3 locations in the past decade. Profitable, debt-free, and in Julia's name. A murmur rose, spreading through the crowd like fire. Neighbors who once whispered now stared at me with wide eyes. Margaret's voice cracked. Impossible. Robert never, he couldn't have. I finally lifted my head, my voice calm but unshakable. Robert and I built it together. While you mocked my hands for being rough, those hands kept our books balanced, filed every permit, managed every expansion. He fixed the engines, I built the business. You never cared to ask. The weight of my words landed hard. A silence pressed into the room, broken only by a faint cough in the back. The lawyer resumed, his voice firm. In addition, Robert has designated Julia as trustee of his military pension, awarded after years of service. Gasps turned into whispers of awe. I could see faces soften, respect blooming where doubt had been. Margaret's skin went pale, her lips trembling. No, no, this can't be, she's nothing, but her words faltered, drowned out by the sound of chairs shifting, people turning toward me instead of her. I met Margaret's stare, my voice low enough to cut through the murmur. For years, you tried to make me small. Tonight, Robert's truth makes me stand taller than you ever imagined. Her mouth opened, but no sound came. Her pride, once sharp enough to wound, lay shattered in the silence that followed. The hall was still, heavy with the weight of revelation. Every eye was on me, not with pity, but with the respect Margaret had never given. For a moment, the church hall was frozen, no cough, no shuffle, only the faint creak of the rafters overhead. Margaret sat stiff in her chair, her knuckles white around her pearls. The proud matriarch who once ruled every family gathering now looked small, her confidence draining like water from a cracked glass. The lawyer closed the folder with a quiet snap. That concludes the will. His words seemed final, a gavel striking down judgment no one could appeal. Around us, the whispers shifted. Where once I had felt doubt and suspicion, I now felt something entirely different, respect. Neighbors who had looked away from me earlier now nodded softly, some even offering faint smiles of support. Margaret rose suddenly, her chair scraping harshly against the wooden floor. This isn't fair. She tricked him. She must have, but no one echoed her outrage. Instead, their silence drowned her protests. Even her closest friends avoided her gaze. She stood alone in her fury. I stepped forward, my heels clicking softly against the floor. My voice carried, calm and steady. Robert's truth has been spoken. You may deny it, Margaret, but you can't change it. He trusted me, and I honored him. That's something you'll never take away. Her lips parted, but no words came. For the first time, she seemed lost, as though her years of scorn had led her to a place even she could not escape. I turned toward Robert's photograph at the altar. His smile, framed in black ribbon, seemed almost alive in that moment, a silent reminder of everything we built together. My chest swelled, not with anger, but with a quiet dignity that Margaret had never been able to strip away. As I moved toward the doors, people rose instinctively, parting to let me through. Some touched my arm in passing, their eyes filled with respect. Others simply watched, their silence louder than any applause. Behind me, Margaret sank back into her chair, her shoulders hunched, her head bowed. The pride she once wielded like a weapon now lay broken, pieces scattered across the very hall where she had tried to shame me. I stepped outside into the evening air. The scent of lilies faded, replaced by the crisp night breeze. My heart felt lighter, my steps firmer. For the first time in years, I walked not in someone else's shadow, but in my own quiet strength. Moral respect is earned, not demanded.